Animals should definitely not act like people. Written by Judi Barrett and drawn by Ron Barrett. How are you today, my friends? How are you today? I hope that you're okay, my friend. Oh, deep in my heart, I want to say, hope that you're okay today. Bum, 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 bum. Hi, it's me. It's Mr. Greg. No puppet friends today. No baby Sue. No other friends. But guess what? We're going to be fostering a new mommy cat. And I think 6 kittens that are like 4 weeks old soon. So maybe in the next Mr. Greg Reads, I'll be reading amongst a bunch of kittens and a new baby mama, which is really fun, right? We love it when we have animal friends, and we can even bring the puppet friends back. But for today, we're going to read another book by Judi Barrett and Ron Barrett. Yes, they are a couple. And interestingly, Mr. Greg bought this book from a discount or a selling place. And I have the very first edition of this book from 1980. In 1980, Mr. Greg was 6 years old. And this book came out when Mr. Greg was 6 years old. And of course, just like all, I think, of the other Barrett books we've read, this book is absolutely full of, remember that big long word we always talk about, anthropomorphication, or we can say anthropomorphizing. That's even hard for me to say. Did you know that Mr. Greg was in speech therapy from before kindergarten until the end of 4th grade? I was. And so many words, and even sometimes some sounds, like the S sound, are a little bit tough for Mr. Greg, even today. And I'm 46. Anyway, anthropomorphizing. Okay, let's read the book, shall we? The illustrations are really beautiful. I super love Ron Barrett's style. And what I think he's doing is I think he's using a pencil, and there's a lot of lines. He loves to use lines and cross-hatching. That's when you go lines this way and then lines that way. We'll point it out. And then he colors those in. They're just very beautiful illustrations. Let's read this book called Animals Should Definitely Not Act Like People. And you see, 1980. Animals should definitely not act like people, because it would be preposterous for a panda. Do you see all of those P's? P, p, p. That's another fun word. That word is called alliteration. You want to say it with me? Alliteration. That's 5 syllables. It's a big word. And that's when there is a repetition of consonant sounds. So preposterous for a panda. P, 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 p. That's what we're doing there. And see, we have a panda with a panda stuffy. Hold on, I have to get my elbow in a good place. There we go. And of course, there's a panda nightlight and a panda stuffy. It is kind of silly. I would say even preposterous, which is a very fancy word for quite silly and unbelievable. Here's some more alliteration on a W, because a worm would be worn out. W, w, w. And you'll notice, even in the illustration, the worm is in the shape of a W, trying to lift weights. That would wear me out. Certainly it would wear a worm out. Because it would be outrageous for an octopus to play outfield. There's an O and an O and an O. Now, when you repeat vowel sounds, that's a special kind of alliteration called assonance. And then when you use consonants, it's called consonance. It's very fun. Language. Anyway, they've got an octopus wearing 4 mitts, and the baseball is still about to hit him in his very large octopus head. But do you see? Right down here is that cross-hatching I talked about. There are many striped lines going this way, and then he draws lines going this way, and it creates this cross-hatching. And it's all throughout his illustrations. You can see those lines. Love that particular style. Because it would be foolish for a fish. There's a bunch of That's when I was a child and had trouble with the F, we would call that the bitey sound because you bite your lip. Foolish for a fish. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Look at this one. We've got a fish in a fishing boat fishing for fish. Oh boy, that would be foolish. Because what is the fish going to eat? A fish? Ooh. Because a hippopotamus would have to have a heap of help. There's a that's like a breathy sound, the H. The hippopotamus has attempted to take a bath in a human-sized bathtub, and he has gotten his rear end or his butt stuck. Because it would not pay for a pigeon. There's another p. Now this is very silly. We have a pigeon who is in an airplane flying with other pigeons outside of the window actually flying because pigeons can fly. It would absolutely not pay. He does not need to fly on an airplane. And he's got pigeon food and headphones on. This is very silly. And of course here in the seat we see more of those lines, the cross-hatching. Isn't that a fun way to illustrate? I might try to do that. Because a fly would find his furniture falling. More of the bitey sound and more silliness because, of course, this fly is on top of the ceiling and the fly has all of his furniture placed on the ceiling and, of course, it's falling. Now, here's an unusual thing that's happening. The man on TV, he's on TV, so he's not actually upside down, but his hair is still falling down. It is quite silly. Quite silly. Because it would be dreadfully dull for a dog. Oh, that's the D sound. D. Like a D. You put your tongue kind of right behind your teeth and go da 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 da. That's a fun way to make a beat. Da 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 dun 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 dun. You want to do it with me? Da 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 dun 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 dun. Mm-hmm. And of course, they have a picture of a dog walking a dog. Can you believe it? It's got a. He looks very much as if he is either bored or embarrassed, or he feels like he is above walking a. Well, this little dog is very cute, huh? Huh? Very cute. Because a giraffe would gasp when she glanced to the ground. G, g, g. That's a G sound that they're doing the alliteration on, which is in the throat. G, 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 g. Golly gee. They have a giraffe on top of a ladder, on top of a house, painting the house in the pattern of a giraffe. See, look at this. Here's another thing that's happening. You notice there's paint and it's spilling into the gutter. And that paint is coming all the way down here. And like rain is coming out of the bottom. That's a fun detail. How do you think that giraffe feels up there? Yep, worried. Very worried. Because it would be troublesome for a turtle in a thunderstorm. There are T's. Just like the D. Now the T sound is fun because that is how you make a hi-hat sound on drums. Right? So I can use a T and a D, and we can make a song. Very cool. Anyway, the turtle has an umbrella in the middle of a thunderstorm, and you can see, because of all of the rain, quite a bit of the use of lines by Ron Barrett here. And then in the umbrella, to set it apart, he's doing that cross-hatching where he's going this way and that way. He's drawing lines in every direction. It's a very fun way to do illustrations, because it would be silly. It would be so silly for a sheep. And that's the S sound. Sometimes I call that the snake sound, and that's the sound I had so much trouble with until I was in 5th grade. And I used to sometimes go, and it would come out of the side of my mouth, and sometimes my tongue would stick out and it would come out of the front. Goodness gracious. Anyway, here they have a sheep, which already has curly hair, at a barber shop or at a beauty salon getting its hair curled. How silly is this? So silly. So super silly. Super silly, silly, silly. And because an ostrich would look odd, there's the other O. Look at this one. Because the ostrich is bent down and his head would otherwise be buried in the ground, they have cut a hole in the floor, and the ostrich is watching TV from upstairs. And you'll notice that the same clown on the television is in the television guide. And I don't know what is here. Oh, it's ostrich eggs. There's a little baby ostrich hatching. And because a ladybug would have a large load to lift. La, 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 la. There's the L sound. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Yeah, that's just, you can sing la la la. La 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 la. You can also make that silly sound. Do you know another way to make a silly sound? But this is, you use your finger, you go. Very silly sound. Anyway, look at what they have this ladybug doing. Attempting to carry an entire grocery bag that is ripping at the bottom. It's so heavy. And most of all, because we wouldn't like it. You see what's happening here? It's all of the animals are outside of the cage of a zoo, and they're looking inside of the cage as if we are the zoo animal. And so see, we have our hamburger and french fries and soda, and the hyenas are laughing at us, and the monkeys taking a picture, and the pelicans and the alligator and the elephant, the parrot, the gorilla, the kangaroo, everybody, all the bears are laughing at us. That's a very clever illustration. Again, with all of that beautiful use of lines. You should try that sometime when you're doing a drawing. Instead of coloring it all the way in, you can just make lines, and you can go the other way with the lines, and it makes such a cool texture, such a cool look. Well, I've ordered several new books, and I'm looking very forward to having them and reading them with you soon. And perhaps the next time I see you, there will be, in fact, the chair won't be here. There'll be a big crate here, and there'll be 6 kittens and a mama cat. That's pretty exciting, right? And maybe Perry Porcupine. I almost called him Perry Platypus. I don't have Perry Platypus. I wish I had a platypus puppet. Did you hear that? That's the P poppy sound. That's my alliteration for you. I wish, wait. Please purchase a platypus puppet para mí. Para is Spanish for 4. Please purchase a platypus puppet para mí. Anyway, it's lovely hanging out with you. I look forward to seeing you again. Mwah.